Hi, beautiful. I'm your reflection, and I have a few things that I need to share with you right now. The first thing is that you are doing an amazing job. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of who you are in this moment, flaws and all. I'm proud of who you're becoming. I'm so amazed at all the ways you're unbecoming, all of the things that aren't truly who you are. Your past pain, your past programming, shedding old belief systems. Wow, like you're doing an amazing job. And you are worthy of rest. You are worthy of rest no matter what you accomplished today. Okay? You don't need to earn rest and self-care. That is your birthright. When you are feeling tired, burnt out, exhausted, rest. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't need to justify yourself to anyone. You don't need to try to come up with excuses to help people understand why you need a break or why you need a personal or mental health day. Just do what you need to do and let people know, hey, if you need to communicate it to someone, I need to take a day. Or if you have to go into work or you have a commitment that you can't reschedule, you let them know, I need a little bit of extra space today. I'm quite tired today. And you communicate that, because otherwise people don't know what you're going through if you don't communicate it with them. And it's safe. It's safe to let people know how you're feeling. And in fact, you may find that the more that you communicate honestly with people about what you're feeling and what you're going through, and you don't have to give them every single detail, but just give them the general overview. Hey, I'm feeling a little emotional or mentally exhausted today. Just want to let you know. I'm going to take it a little easier today. That's all you have to say, or something like that. And don't feel guilty when you do that, because you are deserving and worthy of taking it easy. You don't have to be on every single day. You don't have to be switched on and smiling and getting all the things done every single day. That's unrealistic. That's not human. That's machine. And we are not machines. You are not a machine. You are a beautiful human being. You are spirit incarnate in this human body, in this human experience. And yes, some days you will feel a little low. Some days you may lack that motivation and that drive, and that is okay. As much as you possibly can on days like that, self-care. What do I really need right now? Ask yourself that. On days like that, ask yourself, what do I really need right now? Oh, a big glass of water. Okay, ooh, a mug of tea with extra honey and cream, right? An afternoon nap. If I can just get one thing done today, that will be a success. But if I can't get that one thing done today, that's okay. Be gentle with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't deny yourself love for any reason. Not for anybody. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone. And there may be a voice in your head that tells you you're not doing enough. There may be a voice in your head that says you need to do more, you need to work harder, you need to keep up, you're falling behind. And when that voice shows up, you know what you do? You pause, you notice, and you don't identify with that voice, because that voice is not you. Thoughts are not true. Thoughts are not who you are. my love, you are the one who witnesses your thoughts happening. Again, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who witnesses your thoughts happening. So you know what that means? That means that not only are your thoughts not true, but they're not who you actually are. Think about it. Do you ever have to make yourself think of something? When you're just sitting there and all of a sudden a thought comes in and it's not very nice, or it's telling you this other thing you have to do and blah, blah. Like, did you have to do anything to make that thought happen? No, it happened all on its own. That's the nature of the mind. What our job is as conscious beings is to notice when thoughts occur, to simply observe them and to not get sucked into them, into their current, and start to identify ourselves with them, because that's when we create our own suffering. And yes, we are the creators of our own suffering. When we find that we are identifying with our thoughts and our feelings, and we're suffering, we're choosing that. Now, granted, it might be unconscious, but in this moment, I invite you to make that part of yourself conscious, to start making that part of yourself conscious, where when you notice thoughts happening and they don't feel good, or you notice the way you're feeling in your body, right? Well, oftentimes we'll have a thought or a series of thoughts of like, I'm really tired, I'm really overwhelmed, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna pay that bill? How am I gonna, this and that, oh no, this, that. And then all of a sudden we start to get choked up in our throat, and our head starts to throb, and we feel the tears coming, and our stomach is clenched, and our body is responding to the thoughts. Thoughts are the language of the brain, the mind, and emotions and feelings are the language of the body. And they're like speaking to each other and communicating with each other until you become completely just enraptured in the thought and feeling, like the negative thought and feeling patterns. And at that point, it can feel really difficult to not identify with the thoughts and the feelings that you're experiencing. But let me tell you something, you can do it. You can do it. It's as simple as pausing when you notice you're really getting sucked in. And you know what I've been loving lately? I'm going to teach you something now. It's going to be a little intense, so be prepared. I go, as soon as I feel myself getting sucked into a negative thought pattern, I feel my body going into a stress response, or I'm like feeling very emotional. I go over to a mirror and I go, I start clapping. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up in the dream. And everything just melts. I get quiet. I'm like, and it's like a stillness. And I'm like, yeah. Everything's okay. Those were just thoughts. Those were old thoughts. Those aren't me. That's not true. Okay. Touched on a few different things here. But I know that if I'm going through something that feels really difficult in my own life, I know I'm not the only one. And I will share transparently that today was particularly difficult for me in terms of like my mental health. And what I discovered when I really sat down, I finally stopped trying to work on things. And I sat with myself, like really sat with myself, and was like, okay, let's talk this out with my number one, my BFF, which is myself. I pull up my video recorder on my laptop and I talk to myself. Like I'm talking to like my best friend or someone who I really trust their opinion. I know they're going to give it to me straight. And I just talk to myself like that. And I get it all out. And just vocalizing the thoughts and the feelings helped me get clear on why I was feeling so crappy. And I started out that conversation with myself in tears, pit in my throat, all choked up, noticing like these like feelings of like victimhood, you know, floating around, and just trying to be so conscious to not go into those victimhood storylines that have been such a norm for me in my past. And as I just spoke with intention about what I was feeling, what I was noticing, being impeccable with my language, how I was speaking about myself, how I was speaking about my language, being brutally honest with myself, starting to hear myself say something and stopping myself mid-sentence. No, that's victimhood. I'm not a victim of my circumstances. I'm a powerful co-creator. Let me find a different way of saying that. And then shifting it, poop, right there in the moment. And just moving through like that. Looking at myself, hearing my voice, expressing the emotion, expressing everything in an intentional way to myself. All of a sudden, all the haziness, all the muddiness, all the clutter and chaos that was happening in my mind and in my body started to the clouds started to part. And all of a sudden, I felt my whole state of being shift. And I was like, oh yeah, I was just being really hard on myself. I'm doing a great job. I know that this is what I have to bring. I was trying to be someone that I'm not. That's why that hurt me so bad. That's why that I was suffering, because I was trying to be someone that I'm not, and putting impossible standards on myself of perfectionism with this thing that I was working on. And just being brutally honest with myself about how I was treating myself, and deciding in that moment, I'm not going to deny myself love for any reason. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to choose that, because every moment is a choice point. In every moment, we have the choice of how we want to respond to what's happening internally and externally in our environment through conscious awareness. That's the beauty of conscious awareness, is that you get to choose how you respond to what's happening instead of just reacting from past pain and programming and identifying with the thoughts and the feelings that you experience that maybe feel uncomfortable for you. Right? It's taking back the power in your life. And with practice, it gets a lot easier to do this. And I've been learning and deepening and learning how to do this for many years, and I still get swept up sometimes. So I just want to let you know, there's nothing wrong with that if it happens, because everything is happening exactly the way that it's meant to. I truly believe that. And the moment that we decide to stop arguing with our circumstances and take a step back and reflect and contemplate and really be honest with ourselves, what's really happening here? How am I viewing this situation that's making me feel this way? What stories am I telling myself and believing? Or what stories is my mind telling me and I'm believing them that are making me feel like this? And then consciously deciding in that moment, I'm going to rewrite that story into something that's more positive and empowering for myself. That's how you do it. So to bring this home, I was not expecting this to be 14 minutes long. To bring this all home, I'll say this. Be gentle with yourself. We can't control how other people perceive us, but what we can control is how we choose to love ourselves. You don't need to live up to impossible standards of perfection for anybody. If it doesn't feel good, take a look at it and be really honest with yourself about why it doesn't feel good. And keep asking yourself questions until you get to the root, until you get to the truth inside of yourself and your heart about potentially a story that you're telling, or a victimhood consciousness, which is a big one for me and many of us, right? Many of us are moving through that, learning how to break free from victimhood consciousness. And I'll speak more about this in future videos for sure. But you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. The only person you need to make proud is yourself. And as your reflection, I want to remind you that I am super proud of you. You are doing an amazing job. If no one has told you lately, you are doing an amazing job. Okay. I love you so much. Thank you to everybody who tuned in to the end, all the way to the end of this video. I know I've been a little bit sparse on my channel. I can't believe it's been almost a month since my last video, but you know, self-care needs to be the #1 priority. And my life's been particularly busy lately. And I just really appreciate those of you who are still here, because I'm always thinking of you and I'm always holding you in my heart. So I love you. I hope that what I've shared with you has served you in some way. And if it has, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. All right. Lots of love.